Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. I am looking forward to today's interview. I have Katharine Giovanni, and Katharine is an author, a speaker, very experienced actually in all of these endeavors, and is a transformation mentor. And the thing that drew me to Katharine, and I think we're going to focus on today, is her latest book, which is called The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. And I am so all about forgiveness. This is obviously big heart chakra stuff. And so Katharine has a method and has so much information. So welcome, Katharine. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you weren't always a speaker author. You had another life before, which again always really interests me. You were in the concierge business, weren't you?
This is true. Yeah, I was in the concierge business for over 25 years. I retired in 2020, but I'm credited with being one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry.
I think being a
And
concierge must teach you a lot.
You guys have possibly one of the original ones, quintessentially, is actually based in London.
Yes, it
They've
is.
been around forever.
Yeah, no, I remember when they first started, everyone was like, "Ooh, that's exciting." But I think that being a concierge must teach you an awful lot about people, about the human condition.
Well, the fact that I call myself a transformation mentor and a forgiveness coach probably implies that the universe has gifted me with a lot of experiences that I needed to forgive.
Mm,
Annoyingly so, to be honest.
mm.
And when you are in customer service, you might have a client that makes you angry in the heat of the moment. You may or may not be able to leave your station. So I had to come up with a way as I was teaching people how to be a concierge for years, and I had to come up a way to get them to release their anger when they couldn't leave their station. And I'd already, because of my childhood and because of the thing, I'd kind of been studying forgiveness for most of my life. And that's when it was around the turn of the century, which makes me feel so old. I really shouldn't have to say it quite that way, but it is what it is. And it was probably around the early 2000s that you didn't bring a soft topic to a workshop. At least here in the United States, you didn't. I'm pretty sure you didn't there either. You just didn't do it. But there was no other way to teach people not to be angry when they have their next person right behind them in the queue.
Yeah.
As you guys see, I know your language. I have a lot of British friends. Um, so I came up with the idea of, well, they need to forgive. And that's kind of how the system loosely started.
Amazing. And so what sort of shoved you from being, I mean, obviously you retired from the business, but as a transformation mentor and somebody who works on a sort of energetic level, like there must have been something bubbling underneath in terms of your energy work, your spirituality, your kind of belief in the transformational power of the human soul, I guess. Um, so what sort of tipped you into this work?
This might cause couple people's brains to stretch just a little bit, but I hid the fact that I'm intuitive for over 40 years.
Mm.
I have been intuitive since I was born, and I've got like clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant, all the clairs,
Oh,
which
wow.
means I'm just really good at hearing that little bird in your shoulder.
Mm.
And I hid it for 40 years because back in the 19th, never mind what year it was, but it was a long time ago.
Yes.
And when I was a kid, I used to hear things in my head. And I used to answer myself. I used to talk to myself and I used to answer myself. And imagine my surprise when I found out that nobody else was doing it, only
Mm.
me.
Mm.
And because it was the 1970s, society had a very horrible habit of slapping a "you're crazy" as a bedbug sticker across your forehead if you even remotely exhibited any intuition at all. They'd
Yeah.
call you crazy, give you meds, and put you in a psychiatrist's office.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
kept it quiet. I didn't
Yeah.
tell anybody. So
Yeah.
I am the queen of giving people guidance and messages, and they won't even know it because I'll flip the words. And I did it for years. So everybody,
Um,
I am credited with starting the independent concierge industry. It actually wasn't me; it was a bunch of us. But it's not that I'm particularly smart.
mm,
It's that I know how to listen. And when my gut told me to do something, when my intuition told me to do something, I didn't ignore it. It's like animals. There was a horrible tsunami a bunch of years ago, and it devastated. I think it was off the coast of Thailand or something like that, and it devastated everybody. People died, but the elephants were pulling people. They were pulling their handlers up into the mountains, and the handlers were beating them and saying, "No, what are you doing? We don't want to go." And they were literally herding everybody to the top. Dogs were doing the same thing to their owners. People lived because the animals pulled them to safety. Now, a bunch of people died, but
mm,
what do animals have that we don't? They don't have these crazy, stupid human brains that talk you out of something. When you think something and you think, no, that's crazy, I can't do that. Why should I go right at the light? I always go left. I'm not going to do that. And when you don't listen to it, what happens? And then you say to yourself, I knew I shouldn't have done that.
mm,
What is
yeah.
that? What
Mm,
is that? Now,
mm,
you notice I don't call myself psychic because I personally, no disrespect to anybody, but I have a personal dislike of the word because I think that it makes people think that I'm about to take their money and take out my crystal ball. Everybody on the planet is intuitive. I'm
yeah.
crazy. I wrote a lot of books. I wrote a book about this one too called The Little Bird in Your Shoulder. You either see it, feel it, know it, or you just sense it. You
Yeah.
walk into a room and it just feels off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we all absolutely, I'm 100%,
Everybody has it.
we all have that power. It's
Yeah.
just, how does it show up and how do
Hmm?
you choose to pay attention to it?
You
Because,
don't, what happens?
well, then you're just stuck in the mire. I don't know. You're stuck. Nothing happens.
So let's say you're hiring somebody. They come in a three-piece suit and their resume is absolutely perfect. And you've made a few calls. So everything is perfect. They're saying the right things. Everything is great. And something's off.
Mm,
You
mm,
know it. You can feel it. You might hear
mm,
words in your head that says don't hire them, or you might see something in your head, or maybe you just feel it. It just feels wrong to you. Well, you hire them anyways because you talk yourself out of it, don't you?
yeah. Well,
We've all
okay.
done it.
They're great.
And
I mean, and
then,
we've done it in relation. We do it in relationships as well.
sure,
The guy who's perfect on paper. Yeah.
I knew I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have gotten in the car. I knew I shouldn't have hired that person because it blew up. So
Mm,
it's a question of doing this stuff intentionally. It's a question of listening, learning how to listen to your intuition on purpose and not in the heat of the moment. Not when there's a life-threatening thing. Like a friend of mine was almost in a car accident and she fell asleep at the wheel. And at the last moment, she heard the words, "Wake up." And she woke up and she turned the wheel and she avoided it. I have had the little bird in my shoulder has saved my life 3 times. Not that I'm counting particularly. I am a breast cancer survivor. I think it's coming up to be 13 years now. And back in 2011, I kept hearing, you need to jog, you need to run. I'm allergic to exercise. If you look in the dictionary under exercise allergy, my name pops up virtually immediately, but I couldn't get it out of my head. You need to jog, you need to jog. So I started the Couch to 5K running program. It's right online and it's brilliant, to be honest.
mm,
It does exactly what you think it does. And I ran a 5K. Okay, I half walked it, but I did it. I ran
yeah.
some of it. I walked the hills. And as I was working my way up to that, weight started to come off. And it came off too fast. And I knew it. And the day before my birthday, I found a lump. And it was stage 3 triple positive breast cancer. And the surgeon said if I hadn't taken up running and I hadn't gone from a size 14 down to an 8, I would be dead because I would have never found the lump.
Wow.
So my intuition saved my life. So when
Yeah.
you're getting things like that and you can't get it out of your head and you're thinking, I'm just crazy, I shouldn't be thinking that, or it's telling you to write a book. You've never written a book in your life. What do you mean write a book? Listen to that little bird in your shoulder because it can see farther faster. And then the thing about anger, Buddha used to say, holding anger in your heart is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies, right? But
Mhm.
anger acts like a shield to your intuition. It's an energetic shield. So if you're trying to be your authentic self, if you're trying to find out the path, if you're stuck behind a wall and you don't know where you should go, releasing some of your anger through forgiveness is going to allow the little bird in your shoulder to slip in and give you advice, and you'll be able to hear it and
Mhm.
trust your intuition more.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it brings us nicely back to this path to forgiveness. And as I was preparing to chat with you, I was thinking about forgiveness and what a
Hmm.
powerful tool it is. Um, but a lot of my clients and the people I work with, when we talk about forgiveness, it's less about forgiving somebody who did something that annoyed us. It's more about forgiving ourselves.
Yes,
So I'm really interested to hear about how this came. I mean, obviously, we've heard a little bit about how this came up for you because you realized that in the service industry, and my God, how incredibly useful. Because if you're in the service industry, whether you're a waiter or a clerk or a shopkeeper or
sure.
whatever, oh my gosh, you have to forgive every soul that comes in and puts sticky fingers on your goods and then walk straight out again. This must be so many things. So where did this come from initially, and what you've obviously created a path, a sort of a step by step. So did that, I mean, clearly that must have just landed intuitively for you. It just came naturally and you could just
It
see
did.
it clearly. Yeah.
It's the step-by-step system is something you guys have never heard ever. It's completely unique because it was given to us. But
Mm,
I've been studying forgiveness for most of my life. When I was a kid in the eighth grade, it was 1974, if you will. I was terribly bullied in school. My parents were raging alcoholics, and I had a really kind of a rough background. So in the eighth grade, because of the bullies, I tried to commit suicide, and I turned into one of those teenagers,
mm,
kind of dark, one friend type of thing, kind of floated through life
mhm,
until about a decade later, give or take a year, my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even
mm,
my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So
mm,
she dried out and she went to rehab. And we spent the next 3 years closer than close, closer than sisters, forgave each other, became best friends. And then she died of breast cancer, which I later got. And I realized when she died, excuse me, I realized when she died, it was one of those golden moments of life, and it was kind of like a flashpoint, and I realized that if I didn't change my life, I was going to die too.
mm,
So the only New Year's resolution I actually ever kept, I quit drinking on the spot. I've been sober now for 35 years. And when you quit drinking, you go into Alcoholics Anonymous, at least here in the States you do, and they want you to make amends. Your
mm,
girl here was very shy. I'm not anymore because I've taught myself not to be, but I was really shy. We didn't have technology back then. If I
mm.
could texted these people, it would have been brilliant. I would have loved to text them,
Yeah,
but I
for
couldn't
sure.
text them. So you
Yeah.
had two choices. You could call them up on the phone and you were going to get yelled at, or, they were going to say something back to you, or you had to see them in person. That was worse. So I stumbled on the first part of my system is I forgave them, but I didn't tell anybody, and I did it in the privacy of my own apartment. And that stumbled into the first part of the system. And it took decades for me to figure out the rest, but eventually I figured out what the special sauce was. But
Mm,
here's the thing about forgiveness. Everybody tells you to forgive. Your parents, your teachers, everybody.
mhm.
Nobody teaches you how.
Yeah.
And what if you don't want to? What if it's
Mm.
unforgivable? Then
There's a lot
what do
of
you do?
there's a lot of resistance there
It's
to forgive.
awful. And
Yeah.
then on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, dumpster fire, horrific, and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, 10 out of 10 people right now are thinking of their number 10 person. That's
Mm,
why nobody wants to talk about it. That's why nobody wants to do it because they don't deserve your forgiveness, do they? It was unforgivable. Well, you don't have to forgive your unforgivable people. And I'm the only one that'll ever say that to you. Why? Because there's people, places, and things that you can forgive before you even get to that person. I did say places and things. Please don't click off. Stay with me. There's so many other things that you can forgive, and I'm not going to start you out with the unforgivables. We're going to start out on the other end of the spectrum, and we're going to start out with the easy ones first. And as you work your way through the system, and I'll go through the system if you like, step by step, as
Mhm.
you work through the system, you're going to start to feel better.
Mm.
But here are a few principles before you ask a question, because I can anticipate it.
Okay, go on.
There's some things out there and it's worldwide. I've been on a lot of podcasts all over the world and everybody asks me the same thing. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you.
Mm.
I probably don't, to be honest. And I probably have boundaries in place already.
Mm.
And here's the big one. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm all of a sudden giving you a pass. It doesn't mean I'm all of a sudden saying you were right and I was wrong. It doesn't mean I'm coming over to the dark side, as it were. What
Mhm.
it means is I understand you don't deserve my forgiveness because you've committed some absolutely horrific thing. You still don't deserve it. Forgiveness means I want you out of my head. That's
Mm.
it. You don't
Mm.
have to reach out to the person. You don't have to talk to these people. You don't have to tell anybody you've done any forgiveness work at all. You do it in the privacy of your own home. It just means I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you and I want to stop dreaming about you. So people come up to me all the time and they say, Catherine, I did do the work. Yeah, you did. But they don't stay forgiven, do they? You keep getting triggered, right? Why? It's the energy. Everybody, science has proven that we have energy around our bodies. Even inanimate objects like this little silver microphone has energy around it. The
Yeah.
reason you're getting triggered is because you didn't forgive the energy.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
I like that.
I knew
Hmm.
you would.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the energy around so let's take a really easy example of
Mhm.
somebody dumped you on you know, your fiance dumped you, broke off an
Okay.
engagement, or you got heartbroken. So heartbreak is something that the majority of people will have experienced and will have, there'll be an ex who broke your heart, and you want to forgive them because you want to stop, as you say, dreaming about, fixating about, talking about.
That's right.
Everyone is bored of your hearing about your ex, da 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 da. So you need to forgive the energy of that person. How do you discover how do you work that out? How do you untangle that for yourself as to
Okay,
what?
the first thing, it's actually simpler than you would even imagine. I'm going to have you sit down alone in a room with your cell phone off. I know that's making people twitch. It always does, but I really would like it off. If you can't turn it off, just turn off the volume. I don't want it to vibrate because you're going to look at it if it dances in your desk. Then I want you to write a list of all the people you think you need to forgive. And the person who broke your heart is probably going to be one of the first names you write down because you're just racked over it, right? And that's normal. Everybody writes down the people that hurt us the most, the first few names, but keep going. Write down kids from your childhood. They stole your favorite pen. The
Mhm.
person who took your parking space at the grocery store yesterday. Your football team lost 2 weeks ago. Write down the football team. Right?
Okay.
Write
Yep.
down a huge list. And then I want you to rate these people from 1 to 10. 10 being awful, 1 being easy. And we're going to talk about the number 10 person who broke your heart, the unforgivable person. I'm going to teach you how to forgive that person in a minute. And then I want you to take the person you rated a number 1
Hmm.
and I want you to sit alone and I want you to imagine them in your mind's eye standing in front of you. Now, if your number 1 is a kid from high school and you're in your 40s now, I want you to imagine the kid from high school, not the adult. I want
Mm.
you to be talking to the original kid, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And if you can't imagine this person in your mind's eye, put a chair in front of you and talk to the chair. You could
Hmm.
even put their name in the chair or their picture on the chair because not everybody can imagine things in their mind. Talk to
Mm.
the chair.
Yeah.
Now, this is your golden moment. Lay it, let them have it. Tell them anything you want. Scream, yell, cry. It's your party. And you can also forgive dead people because where they are or not doesn't matter a lick because you're not reaching out to anybody and you're not telling them. And if they're
Mm.
alive and well in your head, put them down in your list. But
Yeah.
now, once you get it out, I want you to put your hand in your heart And the words are just for the stupid humans. It's the energy behind the words where the magic happens.
Hmm.
And I want you to say, I completely forgive Martha. I forgive the energy around Martha. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire relationship. And so it is. Amen. Go with God. Goodbye. End it any way you like. Now check
Mm.
in with your body. Are you still angry or is it gone? If it's a level one person, it's probably gone. Okay, cross their name off, go to the next name. Was it a level three person? Okay, check in. Still angry. So maybe it's a two now. Cross the three off, write two, wait 24 hours, do it again. Forgiveness is an onion. This
Okay.
happened to a friend of mine, and she was in front of me at the time. And she was a good friend of mine. And she said, I was using her as a guinea pig. And it was a level four person. And she said the mantra, and I said, now check in with your body. And her face changed. And she was really, really angry. It shot up to a 10.
Oh.
What happened? It's supposed to go the other way, where your brain is like an overprotective best friend and it protects you. There's a closet back there, and it's been padlocked for a long time. And there's a movie playing in the closet. You turn it off if you knew it was there. You don't know it's there, and it's just out there playing. So what did she do? She said the magic words, and her brain said, "Ooh, Catherine's ready." And it opened up the closet and it flooded her with memories. So she crossed off the four and she put a number 10 by it, waited 24 hours, and started the long slog, because it takes a little while to forgive the 10 and get it all the way down. And strange things are going to happen to you. You're going to start to feel better. People are going to start to notice that you're looking different. If you changed your hair, I mean, something about you feels different. Well, yeah, because you've lightened up your energy field. People are going to notice.
Mm.
But there's also some other things that are going to happen to you. Physical things, not so nice things. There was a study done in Japan called the Japanese Water Study, and it was a guy named Masu Hasumo. I can't pronounce his name,
I know
but if
exactly
you
who you mean.
if,
I know
yep,
exactly
and
who
if
you
you
mean.
Google it,
Wonderful.
you'll find all the pictures online. It's really, they're beautiful. What he did was he took several containers of water, and I'll just say it fast, simply. One container of water, all he did was say beautiful things to it, told it he loved it. That's all he did, just talk to it. The other container of water, he said nothing but horrible things. He then froze the water and put it under a microscope. The water he said beautiful things to had these gorgeous transformations. The water he spoke hatred to had these black and brown, sick kind of malformations. And they've tried to replicate this study thousands of times, and everybody keeps getting the same thing.
Yeah.
So, why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So, when
Mm.
your self talk is back, when you're filled with hatred and you are filled with anger and bitterness and you're holding on to grudges, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your own body? That's why
Mm.
people say anger is toxic. This is the how, it's the why.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
changing the water cells.
Yeah.
So, as you forgive, your body is going to need to release these cells, which is why I want you to do this at night before you go to bed. Your body will heal itself when it's sleeping. Never do more than 10 at a time. Do as I say, not as I do. I did this exercise and I am a little bit of an overachiever. Shocker, I know. And I
Mm.
must have written down 50 names. And I thought, this is going to be brilliant. I'm going to forgive
Bonanza.
everybody all at once. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to be a new person when I wake up and I'm going to feel wonderful. Okay. The universe has a little bit of a sense of humor, and it did not end up the way that I wanted it to. I did
Mm.
forget many people on the list, but I also ended up in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu for 3 days.
Yeah.
The water cells, your body can only mitigate so much.
Yeah.
So most people feel tired. Some people feel energy movement from their solar plexus. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, all the chakras went out of my head. I had to think about it for a minute. And you'll feel energies in one of the chakras, usually the central one, come out of your body. Or you might be in the bathroom for a little bit. You didn't eat a piece of bad fish. It's just the water cells are literally, your body is trying to mitigate all that anger and transform you.
Mm. Okay, I love this. And I'm really I love that there's this very clear um process that you've got,
Hmm.
but I also love the fact that it's a physical process, that
It
it's
is.
not just something you do in your mind, it's something that you're processing through your body. And
That's right.
I've been aware of those Japanese the Japanese water study. And there's a woman, I'm not sure if you've come across her yet, she's called Veda Austin, who's doing similar things. You know, obviously everyone says to her, you're copying him, but she's not, because well, if you go and follow her on Instagram or wherever, because she's amazing, and her work with water is so illuminating and so inspiring. And when we think we know we are water mostly made up
That's
of,
right.
it's a really important thing, which is why prayer is so powerful. It's why mantra is so powerful. It's why affirmations are so
It's
powerful.
affecting
It is
your
actually
water.
affecting you
Mhm.
physically in your body cells, of the
It
cells of
is.
the water that make you up, which is why I whisper to every cup of water I do, love, 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 into my
Oh,
cup.
I do too. I do it before I feed my plants too. But
Oh,
it's the unforgivable. That's a bear. So let me give you one more piece that you haven't heard yet. Let's talk about the unforgivable. Let's talk about the
the
bully
number
in
10.
school, or let's talk about somebody who broke your heart. Doesn't really
Mm,
matter what it is. You've labeled them a 10 and you can't get it out of your head.
yeah.
So what do you do? Well, I'll use one of my own one of my number 10s as an example. Let's use the bully at school when I tried to commit suicide because I was bullied. Well, when I first did this, I thought, okay, I was in my 50s at the time, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm a 50-something-year-old woman thinking about something that happened in the 70s. This is ridiculous. I should be over this now, but I wasn't. It still kind of popped up, and I would get super angry when people got bullied. I mean, like a mama bear type of angry, and it was a trigger. So
Mm.
I sat down and did this exercise, but I wasn't ready to forgive the person. And I didn't even want to forgive the energy around the person, to be honest.
Oh,
I just
really?
didn't
Yeah.
want to. I was that angry. So I
Mm.
picked apart the memory. Remember, I said everything on our planet has an energy field around it. So I remembered on my childhood school, the grammar school. So I forgave the grammar school. Not kidding. I forgave the energy around the building. I forgave the desk that I sat at, the energy around the desk. I forgave the chair. I forgave the classroom. I forgave the school ground. I forgave the grass that I was standing on. I forgave the benches that we sat on. I forgave the kids who stood around and didn't help. I forgave New York City. Not kidding. The energy around New York City. I forgave 1974 because that's
Wow.
the year I tried to commit suicide. Now remember, I still haven't forgiven the bully yet.
No.
I'm picking apart the energy. So that number 10 went down to a 9, which is why I say, some things are unforgivable. You don't have to forgive the bully because there's other pieces of the memory you can pick apart. You can forgive yourself for getting in the car or going to the park late at night, to use some horrible examples. You can forgive the words that you said at a Christmas dinner. You can forgive the table, the chair, the house, the people. There's all sorts of things you can forgive before you even get to the person you're actually mad at. And then
Mm.
eventually, when you get it down to like a 9, you're going to think, okay, I'm ready to make the first pass. Are you going to mean the first pass? Probably not. But it's an onion. And as you forgive the layers, eventually you'll get to that sweet spot and you'll be able to get that number 10 down to a 1. Now, it took me a long time to get, my father's been dead for many, many years. And I forgave the dead person. And it took me months to get my dad down from a 10 down to a 1 when I forgave him. And then I thought about it. And I thought, and I think it was somebody who said, what is the one thing in your life that you regret the most? It wasn't a big thing, but I've been married for 33 years. And I was so mad at my father back in those days. I didn't let him walk me down the aisle. And my older son looked at me. He heard the story. He said, that was mean, Mom. That was mean. And it was. So I've
Mm.
always been I felt bad about it. And when I forgave my father, I realized I had to go back up the other way. I needed to have him forgive me for things I had said to him.
Mm.
And he's dead. So I just flipped the language. Instead of saying, I completely forgive Martha, I had to flip the language saying, Martha completely forgives me and the energy around me. I'm still not
Mm.
reaching out to anybody, and my dad, I can't. And
Mm.
I'm not telling anybody I'm doing it. But now that memory is out of my head. See, everybody says, well, you forgive and you forget. I'm from New York City, and I can guarantee you with 100% certainty, we don't forget anything. It's not in our DNA. We just don't. But what I
Mm.
can promise you is neutrality. It's going to remove the emotional charge. So you can look at this person's name, you can think about all of your past, you can think about all those events, and you won't care. You're not
Mm.
going to care, good or bad. You literally won't care. I
Mm.
saw I've had a lot of business partners over the years because I'm just that ancient. And one of them really did bad and was like an ex. And I just couldn't even look at her name. I was so mad. And one day I'd done this exercise and I had forgiven her. And I was on Facebook and I think it was her birthday. And I saw her name. Usually that would cause me to go to the ceiling and you'd have to pull me off it, and it would take 24 hours to get me back to a reasonable level. And I talk about it and think about it and I live in the memory again.
Yeah.
But this particular day, nothing.
Mm.
And I caught myself and I thought, wait a minute,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
don't care. I
Yeah.
even wished her a happy birthday, which sounds like a small thing, but for me that day, that was big.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. And that's what I'm promising you. I'm telling you that if you do this, you can have peace, you can have joy, and you can remove that energetic dark cloud that's been around your body for so long, so you can finally hear that little bird in your shoulder and you can finally be your authentic self.
Mm. Yeah, I love this is so powerful. It's so lovely and simple as well. And I love the fact that you're also saying, listen, this isn't going to be a one and done. This is work that you've kind of
No,
to invest in for a little
this
while.
is a
It's got to,
slog.
is yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a slog, which is as it should be, because this work doesn't just happen at the click of a fingers. All energy work, it's either it seems to be that it's either it is a click of the fingers and you're like, oh, the energy's just sort of shifted about something else. But that is usually when you're having like aha moments, and when you kind of have
That's right.
realization and truths drop in and you go, oh, now everything's shifted and changed, and that's all. Those are wonderful moments. But when you get into the work, it is a slog. You need to keep the action going. And it is mind, body, spirit work. And the work that you're doing is mind, body, spirit. I always think when someone has a system or something and it's just like, oh, just do one thing, just do, just think about this, or it's just a mental exercise. I'm like, that's not going to cut it.
No.
It needs to be within the body somehow. And you've given that perfect little piece of the puzzle, which adds in the body, which I really admire. I really love that.
And
So,
a little bit of science.
and a little bit of science indeed, and which is always good to back up, because that makes it, um, when we believe, and science on the whole makes us believe that something's true, when we really believe that it works, then so much more effective it can be.
Well,
The
there's a
energy around
story
faith.
that might make people's brains bleed a little bit, but if you really are into energy, here's a serious energy story for you. You're going to love this. I forgave a level 1 person, kid I went to high school with. We had a falling out. We were very, very close friends, and it's been 40 plus years since I've spoken to this person.
Mhm.
So I sat down and I forgave her. Didn't have to say anything because it was just so easy. I mean, I couldn't even remember what the fight was about after all these years. I hadn't
Mm.
spoken to her in over 35, 40 years. 2 hours later, she calls me up on the phone. And I
And
am a
husband.
concierge and I
Yeah.
am very good at masking what I'm thinking. And my concierge training kicked in virtually immediately because my mouth had just dropped to the floor. I couldn't believe that she had called me, and we said the right things, made the right noises. We forgave each other. We reminisced. We did what people do.
Yeah.
But I'm a curious little bear. I couldn't stand it. And I said, after all these years, why did you call me today? She said, Catherine, it was the damnedest thing. 2 hours ago, which was exactly when I was saying that mantra, a
Yeah.
figurine you gave me back in school flew off my shelf, landed in the middle of the floor, and I looked at it and I thought maybe I should give you a ring.
Perfect.
This stuff is like
Yeah.
the law of gravity, and the
Mm.
law of gravity will work whether you believe in it or not. It
Yeah.
doesn't care. You can call it anything you want. You could call it the law of keeping Catherine on the planet. It doesn't care. It's still going to work. The law of forgiveness is the same. This energy is real and it is very powerful, which is why I tell everybody to do this before bed, because you will get tired and
Yeah.
you will feel energy leave your body and it's going to leave you a little exhausted.
So I want to bring you back to two things that I mentioned sort of at the beginning of our conversation. The first thing was something you said. You said you realize that people in the service industry, they've got somebody else coming up in line and they need to forgive and let go of that person who's just been really rude to them or whatever.
Yeah,
So how do we deal with this? How do we do this? We can't wait until the end of the day and
no,
sit in our room and tell that person how insufferable they were and let them go. We need to do it before the next person steps up, which is like
that's right.
less than 5 seconds potentially. So what is that instant? Because I know you've got a secret here.
I do.
There's an instant forgiveness trick.
I love this question. Only a few people have asked me this question, and it brings me such joy to respond. I want you, and you're not going to meet it in the moment, but I want you to say, I completely forgive you. And it's just words, but it's going to remind you about your forgiveness practice, because I do this practice absolutely every night. And I think of the three things I'm most grateful for, it could be just the fact that coffee exists. I might have had one of those kinds of days.
Mhm.
And then I will go into my forgiveness practice, and I have forgiven most of my childhood by now. So it's usually something that happened to me during the day. But when I'm in the moment, I will usually say, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you 3 times in my head. And then I'm going to do something that's very, very strange. Science has proven, and I have no idea how they proved it, but one scientist proved that dogs don't get PTSD.
Okay.
Stay with me.
Yeah.
Why? Because they shake. They shake. They shake their body. So
Yeah.
you can't. So when I'm very stressed out, I'm going to shake. Now, if you're standing in a room full of people, you can't just go like this. They're going to think you're a nut.
Yeah.
But you can shake your arm out like this. It's going to shake that horrible energy out. It's going to look like your hand was asleep. Maybe you're going to go like this, and people are going to think, oh, her hands are asleep. Or if you're sitting, ever get a shiver up your spine and all of a sudden you go like that?
Mm.
Do that. They're going to think you got a shiver up your spine. If somebody says, what's wrong with you? Oh, I just got a shiver up my spine. Somebody walked over my grave, or whatever people say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shake
Yeah.
your legs. And if you
Mm.
can go to the ladies or the men's room and really shake like, like you're in Monty Python type of shake, do it, because you're going to feel better. You're going to feel like an idiot when you're doing it. That's why dancing feels so good to people,
I
because you're
know.
moving your body and you're getting rid of all of that horrible energy. So
This is so
you
good.
shake your
Yeah.
hands, you kind of go like this, and while you're shaking, you say, "I forgive them, I forgive them, I forgive them," not out loud. You say it in
Yeah.
your mind, and then you say next, and
Yeah.
keep going.
I
I
love
promise it'll
this.
help.
No, I'm with you completely. I do a practice within my yoga classes, which isn't very yogic, but I frequently get people to start a class by shaking. And then
Yep.
I get them to brush it off them. It's like, oh, all that stuff.
Yeah, my
Get rid of
friend.
all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You
And it
get rid
is
of the bad
incredibly
energy.
powerful. And the analogy I always use is like if a squirrel gets chased by a dog, it runs up a tree, it has a really good shake, and gets on with its day. Whereas we will have
Exactly.
thought about it for the next 15 years if we don't do something about it. So the shake, the somatic, the body work. Oh,
Hmm.
yes. Yes, Catherine. I love that.
And
Okay.
I'll go to like let's talk about, let's use an extreme example just to bring it home a little bit. Let's say you have an Aunt Martha. I use the
Mhm.
name Martha because I don't have an Aunt Martha and it's a really safe name for me.
Yes.
But if you have an Aunt Martha and you absolutely love her, just substitute somebody else.
Yeah.
My mother used to say every family's the same, only the names are different. I don't think
Mm.
she was wrong.
No, I don't
And
think.
so Aunt Martha drinks. She's
Mhm.
really kind of a fish, but she just drinks. And when she drinks, she gets nasty. And she doesn't shower very much. So you don't really want to sit next to her either. And every Christmas, for some reason, you're next to Aunt Martha. And you're one of her favorite targets because she loves to see people get upset. She lives on negativity and she thrives on these zingers. She knows exactly what buttons to push.
Mhm.
And it takes you a week or two to mentally get up, prepare yourself to go to this family gathering, and then it takes you a week or two to decompress after you go. So what
Mhm.
do? A few months before you have to go, because your mom planned it and you know it's coming. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
wedding. I mean, you know it's
Mm-hmm.
coming. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to work on Aunt Martha. And I want you, you're not going to forgive Aunt Martha because I'm not sure you'll be able to. Pick apart memories. Write down a list. Instead of writing down a list of people that you want to forgive, write down a list of memories with Aunt Martha. Memories that really stick in your mind. Then pick apart the memory. Forgive the grass, the building, the city. Forgive the food on the table. Forgive the people that sit around just like this and said, oh, there they go again. Boy, this is fun. That kind of thing. Forgive, the chair that you sit in. Forgive the chair she sat in. And then pick another memory. And then take a couple passes. Maybe you can get Aunt Martha from a 10 down to, maybe a 5 or a 6. That would be that. I'll take that. We all would. What's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen at Christmas? Aunt Martha is going to be Aunt Martha.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to change her, but it changed you because you won't care. You know
Yeah.
what she's going to say, and it's not going to bother you this time. And even your family is going to say, are you sick? Should I take your fever? Where's the thermometer? Nobody's going to believe it because you're really not going to react. In fact, you're probably going to laugh
Yeah.
because it's funny at this point. It won't affect you. See, we can forgive anything. We can forgive politicians, dare I say, not going there. We can
No, keep
forgive
going.
we can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it gonna do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing, but it's gonna do beautiful things for you.
Mm. Yeah. 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 Okay. So my next point, the second thing I wanted to come back to
Hmm.
was the forgiveness of ourselves.
Hmm.
How do we use the same? Because part of your mantra is, so I just remind me of again, I completely forgive Martha. I completely forgive the energy surrounding Martha. I forgive
I forgive
myself.
myself,
I
the energy
completely
around
forgive
myself.
myself.
I
And so it
often will
is.
add, just as a personal note, I when I'm doing the mantra, very often I will add, I completely forgive myself for anything I may or may not have done.
Right. Yeah, that's
But
the
how do you really forgive yourself? What if when you're writing your list of people and then you rate them from 1 to 10? What if you wrote your own name first and it's a 10?
yeah, exactly. I mean,
What do
we
you
have
do?
inner saboteur, the inner critic, the inner whatever voice that comes
That's
up and
right.
tells you that you're useless, you're a piece of poop, all of the horrible things that inner voice will say, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, da, da, da,
That's right.
all of that stuff. Can we use the same with ourselves? Do we personify that little voice and forgive it? What do we do?
You chip away at it. This is the first book of three, and the second book, which I've just finished the writing part, and my co-author has got it on her desk now, is about how to forgive yourself, and that's the main part of it. But I want you to apply this the same way you would apply the original list. So you've gone through your first list and you've forgiven a bunch of people in your life, and you're feeling better about things now. Maybe you didn't forgive the tens, but you're working on it, right? You're chipping away at it. So now I want you to write a second list. And this is a list of people you want to forgive you. People you think that you have hurt, people, and then you're going to write down events. I shouldn't have gone to that party. I shouldn't have gone to the park. Maybe I shouldn't have dated that guy. You were going to write down people, places, and things on this list. Things that you have regrets about, people that you want to forgive you. And then I want you to rate them from 1 to 10, and I want you to start with the ones, and I want you to work your way up using the exact same mantra, except you're going to flip the language. Instead of I completely forgive Martha, now you're going to say Martha completely forgives me, and the energy around me and the energy around Martha. You're just going to flip the language a little bit. And
Okay.
you're going to go from the ones all the way to the tens. And again, the tens are a bear. You're going to have to pick it apart. Some of these memories, because they're so raw, even the ones, twos, and threes are probably going to be easy. But the minute you hit four, five, six, now these are events that are taking space in your head and they're probably going to hurt a little bit. So
Yeah.
this list is going to take a little bit longer than the original list because it's all about you. But you're going to start to feel better. And you're going to start to breathe easier. You can do this.
Yeah. I I'm so grateful that you are giving us the full kind of shebang. I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot more detail in your books and so on, but I'm really grateful that you're not leaving us hanging with the method here, because this is something that people can literally, and I'm glad that I'm recording this. I hope I'm recording this. And I can go back, write down the mantra, put it by my bed, do it
That's
every
right.
night. Like, it's a really tangible tool that people can use. And I know that you're just going to be like, I feel fine about this, because the minute people start doing it, they will probably start to feel the energy shift, because when you
Oh,
start
they
to
will.
work with energy, stuff happens. And yeah, then you're off to the races. This is fantastic. And
And
it's
allow yourself, I was raised in the 60s and 70s when we were taught that emotions were bad. And if you have bad
yeah,
emotions, you're supposed to put on a happy face. You know, you
yeah,
can't be
stuff
Susie
those
Sunshine
emotions
from
down.
Sunnybrook Farm
Mm.
forever. But this is what a lot of people will call this shadow work. And this will, some of these names and events, especially the ones that where you need to forgive yourself, that might cause you to cry. They might cause you to have bad emotions. Feel all the feels. Let yourself go through this, because it's the old adage, the rainbow always comes out after a rainstorm, and that's true. So keep going, because the end result is you're going to toss this stuff forever.
Yeah.
You're never going to have to do it again.
And when I asked you about forgiveness of the self, and I'm thinking, like, so far, like, make a list of all the people that you need to forgive, that you're holding
Hmm.
resentment for. I'm like, oh, that sounds so satisfying. The minute you said, right, you're going to write a list of all the situations that you need to forgive yourself for, I was like, oh, ouch.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be prickly. That's a difficult one.
It is a difficult
Much
one, and it could
much
be
more
things,
challenging.
and don't be surprised. Don't judge your list. Maybe you're
Mm,
going to write down sofa. You shouldn't have bought the sofa. Okay, that might be a level one thing. I'm
mm,
talking, I want you to write down all of the stuff. Don't, and if you write down something you don't remember, don't judge it. Your brain is giving you that name for a reason. Label it a one, forgive it, and move on. And if you write down memories that are kind of fuzzy, I'm kind of in a different school of thought than everybody else, because I'm not entirely convinced that I need to know everything.
yeah, I agree.
I'm not sure I want to know the details. If my brain is protecting me from certain details, I'm kind of fine with that. As long as I can acknowledge the fact that I was sexually assaulted in college, which I was. Do I need to remember all the details because it was way back in the 1980s? No, I don't. But I have completely forgiven all of those things. It took me a long time. You know,
Yeah.
our world is so broken,
Mm.
and we are filled with so much anger. This is why I give away the system in every podcast that I do, because this is a very workable system that can help your life right this very second.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to add. I am so grateful for you coming on and sharing this, because I've certainly learnt a beautiful new tool that I'm going to use myself.
Please do.
It's a slightly daunting task, I'll admit. Like, okay, here we go. I've got to write down all of the people and all of the things,
But
but
you're doing the
the
easy ones
healing.
first.
Do the easy ones first, exactly. You
That's
get
right.
into the swing of it. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Catherine. This has been
Oh,
brilliant. And
my
I
pleasure.
feel like, as you say, the world is kind of a tricky place to live in at the moment. And so
It is.
we need to spread as much positivity, we have as much awareness of our energy and of the work we can do to heal ourselves and those people who are around us. And we need to do as much of that as we possibly can. So I'm really grateful to you. Thank you.
Oh, my
So
pleasure.
do you want to tell everybody about your website and how they can get in touch with you and follow you and so on?
You could go to my website. It says all my books and private sessions and all that sort of stuff. It's katharinegiovanni.com. And thanks to my mother, my first name is spelled a little odd. Thanks, Mom. Katharine Giovanni.com. You can also go to Amazon. All my books are on there. And two of my books have the audiobook available, as well as the ebook and the paperback.
Mm, wonderful. As you just said, your name is spelt a bit weirdly. My instant reaction is, oh, I want to do your numerology and find out what that says and how different what that says about you. You're different. Anyway, that's for another day. Thank you, Katharine. Um, I am very, very happy to have met you and spent this time with you. Thank you so
My
much for being
pleasure.
a guest.
Thanks for having me.